Our next long lister has dug deep to connect to its beautiful setting in Hampshire. Damien has travelled to see it.
Oh, now, wasn't expecting that.
This is Hampshire House, covered in locally sourced flint. Home to 3 generations of the same family, this house is built on a grand scale. But it's broken up into neat boxy sections that fracture its size and settle it into the trees. It was designed by the architects Neil McLaughlin and Joanna Karatzas.
Joanna, great to meet you, great to meet you. It's incredible. I mean, driving down there, the large flint wall, it almost feels quite medieval, but you turn the corner and it's just like, wow, it's a whole different experience, isn't it?
This is the entrance courtyard, where you're welcomed into the house.
I love as well with the flint, the level of craftsmanship is incredible.
Yes, the flint was important.
So important that a whopping 60 tons of it was used to dress Hampshire House from top to bottom. Along with the flint, they've used Purbeck stone from the neighbouring county of Dorset in the most beautiful way.
In every bed of the stone, it changes in colour from the top of the bed to the bottom of the bed. So we were able to use it in the building to show the layers of the ground.
So you extracted the stone from the quarry and kept it in the same order, and you can see on the corner here, I mean, it's a wonderful effect.
It's not just the materials that tie the house to its setting. It is literally part of the place. The building's dug into the hill. At the back of the house are the quieter spaces, a granny annex, library and office, plus a double-height swimming pool. At the centre of the home is a double-height kitchen, a general living area and a master bedroom. There's a family block with a TV room and kids' bedrooms above, and there are guest rooms with a formal living and dining area below. It might appear as a stone fortress from outside. Inside, it's altogether softer and woodier.
Lovely oak panelling.
The kitchen is a world of timber all of its own.
Oh wow, this is incredible. The height, the volume, it's spectacular. It's got that sort of a wonderful, uplifting, light-filled chapel feel about it. The timber work and the joinery in this room is exceptional. You can look up through here, you can see the joists flying off in 3 different directions. And this is clever stuff.
The oak ceilings tie together the various parts of the house. So the joists were set out to follow the directions of the views and the relationship to each room.
The architects tailored Hampshire House for 3 generations of occupants by designing it as a series of smaller mini homes that each generation can live in independently.
They have their bedroom upstairs, they have the kitchen, they have the family room with a dining table. So you can live in that small bit of the house, and it's meant to be something that feels as though it's the right size for whatever group of people is in it.
Ingenious. The RIBA said this home radiates tranquility in a way that should be celebrated and commended. The judges also praised Hampshire House for the use of comforting natural materials and were hugely impressed with a building that connected to the immediate landscape.
We designed the openings to be as large as possible to bring you out into the landscape, or you bring the landscape into the room.
And if you were going to pick a room to have as your main bedroom, then this is it, isn't it? Because, I mean, look at this.
The views are subtly enhanced thanks to a clever design.
By tapering these columns out from the back to a fine point, it means that when you're inside the room, they're not obstructing your view of the wonderful landscape, and they let the sunlight just flood into the room.
The precision building frames were formed from concrete poured off-site, with local sand added to the mix to help it match the warm grey Purbeck stone around it.
There are few houses that connect with its surroundings like this one. From its locally sourced materials to its pavilion-like structures which reach into the landscape and pull you in. For Neil, Joanna, and all of the craftsmen involved, this house is a heartfelt love letter to Hampshire.
Michelle has travelled to see our next remarkable house on the Isle of Skye. Beautiful, windswept, craggy mountains, wide lochs, sweeping expanses of unending coastline. Any new building would do well to fit into this extraordinary landscape. This is Black House, and it beds in beautifully. It's wrapped in a Siberian larch cloak that connects it to the shadows of its setting. Although its dark and brooding presence contains an interior that is the very opposite. Black House has been sunk into a natural hollow in the rock. You enter through a small hallway on the upper floor, where there are 2 bedrooms and a study, surrounding a light-filled stairwell. The dramatic view of the sea opens up on the lower floor with an open-plan kitchen diner and a large living space cantilevered out over the rocky foreshore. The owners, Julian and Delia, first visited Skye over 30 years ago, and they've been coming back ever since. They decided to retire here from London and build a place to enjoy the magical, craggy setting they love so much.
Hello. So nice to meet you.
Suspended above the waters, the interior is all serene. The kitchen steps down to the living area, following the rocky slope of the shore, to deliver an incredible view.
That is absolutely epic. I mean, there's no other word for it, is there?
It's pretty special. Every day I come down and have the same experience. It is astonishing. The view is the point of this house.
It's completely sort of unfettered connection with outside. I mean, this window is absolutely enormous, but all the detailing is so sort of skinny and discreet. Yeah. What's it like in a storm?
It feels rather wonderful, being as if you're at the front of a ship or something, I suppose.
Yeah. When it's wild outside and you've got the stove on, it's nice and warm in here, and it's just the contrast is very nice.
Not so nice, though, for the builder, Frankie Wallace.
Weather was against it quite a lot of the time.
The finished house is protected from the raging wind and rain, partly because it's sunk down. In order to lower the house 4.5 meters, 1,200 tons of rock had to be broken up with a hydraulic hammer and moved off-site. It was worth all that worry. The judges complimented Black House on its strong connection with the shoreline, its breathtaking views across the water, and the minimal interior, which upstairs is enriched by objects that Julian and Delia have collected over the years on their regular trips to South America. This isn't just a place for Julian and Delia to remember their past lives, but to enjoy today and tomorrow in the moment, in whichever room they find themselves. But burying 2 stories into a void dug from the rock wasn't easy. Planning is very restrictive in this sensitive area, as the architect Laura Stevens knows.
It's quite rare to build a 2-storey building. There isn't really a strong precedent for it in this area. Sinking the bulk of the building down behind the rock, it was the least impact on the site.
Good for the surroundings, good for the neighbours, who had some initial concerns.
The beauty of this building is that it's an elegant, modern home, but set within an ancient landscape, such that it really adds to the environment instead of competing with it.
Earl's Courthouse, the concrete and glass chameleon, easy to miss but hard to forget. Restorative rural retreat, a supersized stone bird hide, home to creatures great and small. South London House, a poetic solution to a sensitive urban plot. Hampshire House, a modernist mansion with generous views on a grand scale. And Black House, a shelter on the shoreline that's almost as dramatic as the view. The chair of the RIBA's judging panel, John Pardee,
Very beautiful.
can tell us about the first house to make it onto the shortlist.
So this category is all about context. So what have you shortlisted for it?
This is the Restorative Rural Retreat.
So, Restorative Retreat is on the shortlist, but there's room for another one.
So what's this project that you've shortlisted?
This is the Black House on the Isle of Skye.
So the competition continues, with Restorative Retreat and Black House added to the shortlist. But there's room for 3 more before we find out who has won House of the Year 2019.